Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo's virtual meeting featuring guest speaker Rose Simmons, Partnership Coordinator for the U.S. Census. I'd like to ask past President Chuck Mann to deliver a reflection and have Rotarian Maria White lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
God bless our police officers during these complicated times. We ask you to shine a special blessing on all these honorable men and women in uniform whose hearts are in the right place. God, you have the deepest understanding of the tremendous pressure they are under every day. Only you know how much harder their jobs are becoming with this increased hatred directed at them. Please shower them with an outpouring of grace to help them through these difficult times. Fill them with your perfect peace so they can stay calm and think clearly in dangerous situations. Guide them with your love so they can perform their duties well while showing your compassion to everyone they meet. Shine your power through them in a way that eases tension and commands respect in the most peaceful ways possible. Guard them from being falsely accused of corruption due to the actions of other officers. Give them grace to forgive everyone who is making their job more difficult during these troubled times. Protect their hearts from temptation to become fearful and resentful. Show them how to grow spiritually by turning to you for strength and guidance. Let us pray. God, help them to feel appreciated for all the good work that they do. Surround them with all the love and support they need to keep their chins up as they process the emotional toll of the job. And at the end of each of their shifts, when their work is done, bring them home safely to their families. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chuck and Maria. Also, thank you to the Toledo Federation of Teachers, our August weekly meeting sponsor. Thank you, Rotarian Kevin Dalton. As we navigate through these fluid times, I want to bring you up to date on a couple of club initiatives. We are pleased to announce that if you missed it in the spoke, that the Rotary offices will be moving to the Toledo Club in the next few weeks. We are excited about this and invite you to stop in on the 5th floor to say hello. Also, thanks to everyone that completed our most recent survey asking for your input on when you would feel comfortable meeting again in person. Of course, using proper protocols in place. Your feedback is extremely valuable to us. We all miss our weekly personal interaction and are anxious to return to in-person meetings when the time is right. And having mentioned that, finally, I, along with the Board of Directors, are carefully considering the recommendations made by our COVID task force on the return to in-person meetings. We will work through very specific protocols and will hope to share the board recommendations in the very near future. But for now, we're glad to have you with us today via Zoom and invite you to sit back and enjoy today's program. But before we move to today's speaker, I'd like to address one of the tallest challenges in this environment, and that is keeping our club engaged at the same level as prior to the pandemic. Here to deliver a brief announcement is Chair of our Membership Engagement Committee, Maria White. Maria?
Thank you, President Alex. Hello, everyone. We're really excited in member engagement to gather some information from you about your feelings and thoughts around what types of initiatives and activities would meet your needs and engage you more in your Rotary Club. Beginning on August the 10th, which I believe is next Monday, we will be working on sending you all a survey. It will be through SurveyMonkey, but also available in written form if you would like, with a series of questions related to your interest and needs around member engagement. We would very much like everyone's participation in this survey. It shouldn't take you very long to fill out, a brief 10-15 minutes, and it will help us to determine our goals and objectives for the coming years. We're also very, very interested in improving our diversity and inclusiveness efforts within this Rotary. You will see that there will be some specific questions related to this and related to racial equity based on some of the most recent activities and events in our world and in our community. So again, please take 10 to 15 minutes of your time. And if you would like this survey mailed to you rather than completing it online, let either Kathy or myself know, and we will make sure to make that happen. Thank you, President Alex.
Thank you, Maria. And now Jim Finley, a member of Toledo Rotary since 1969, will introduce a new member. Jim?
I am pleased to introduce my colleague Brad Smith as a new member to Rotary. Brad is a senior consultant in the human capital practice at Finley. Brad moved to Toledo 6 years ago after spending the first 35 years of his life in Columbus. His wife expressed an interest in moving back to Northwest Ohio, and as is most often the case, she prevailed, and the move to Toledo resulted in a career change for Brad. Previously in Columbus, Brad worked for a large regional CPA firm and served as CFO, COO for a small privately held real estate firm. Brad's looking forward to his Rotary experience and helping to perpetuate Rotary's role in serving the community. When Brad is not working, he loves sports, especially his Ohio State Buckeyes, and spending time with his family. Brad's pet peeve is constant complaining. Brad, welcome to Rotary.
Thank you.
Welcome, Brad.
Thank you very much.
You are now an official member of Rotary, an organization with over 1.2 million members worldwide. We look forward to your leadership and engagement within our club.
I'm looking forward to it too. It's funny, I came to one meeting before they all got closed down, so I hope I wasn't a bad omen on the Rotary Club here. So, but I'm a happy member.
I'll tell you, it did not have anything to do with you, Brad.
Good.
Now, please welcome Gary Byers, Lucas County Commissioner, to introduce our speaker, Rose Simmons. Commissioner Byers.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to meet with the Toledo Rotary Club. Today, my job is to introduce our guest speaker, which is Rose Simmons from the U.S. Census Bureau. Many of us for months have been talking about the 2020 census, and we're closing in on the final count. Rose is here today to share with you what is at stake if we don't get a complete and accurate count for Toledo and for Lucas County. In addition to determining congressional representation and electoral college votes, the 2020 census helps direct billions of dollars of funding for things that our community sorely needs, such as healthcare, emergency response dollars, school and education programs, as well as roads and bridges. Many of these investments have a direct impact on the ability to do business in our community. For instance, the Ohio Department of Transportation has obligated over $27 million to Lucas County communities for 2019 for road resurfacing and repair and bridge improvements, and this is based on census data. Also in 2019, Lucas County was allocated $8 million in federal funds for vital workforce development programs to help prepare job seekers for current and future opportunities in our region. Rose has worked on several decennial census operations over her 25 years with the Census Bureau and currently manages 26 partnership specialists that cover 53 of our 88 counties. Also, it should be noted that in 2012, Rose was awarded the Department of Commerce Bronze Medal, which is that department's highest award. She received that award for her superior performance and significant contribution in leadership, professional excellence, and organizational development skills. I think we'll all find what her comments interesting, and I will now switch it over to Rose Simmons, your guest speaker for today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, Rotarians of Toledo, Ohio. It is my pleasure to be here with you this afternoon and to share with you the good, exciting news about the 2020 census and how that will impact the future of Toledo. Today, I'm going to discuss our goal of the 2020 census. I will also speak to why we conduct the census, the confidentiality, which is extremely important, the impact of census data, and how you can help your community, which is critical at this point. Our goal in the decennial census is to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. I'm often asked, what do you mean by in the right place? Well, there are various rules and criteria for where an individual is counted. College students that live on campus are counted in the dorms. That's very important to the city of Toledo with the University of Toledo there. And I'll explain further why. Why do we conduct the census? It is in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution mandates an enumeration of all persons residing within the United States, and it's to be taken every 10 years. A little bit of history about the census. I'm a previous educator, so I always try to slip in a little bit of history in every presentation that I provide. Our first census was conducted in 1790 by the then Secretary of State, Thomas Jefferson. The census at that time was taken by federal marshals on horseback. As you can see through our progress, we have evolved over the decades to 2020, where the first census will be conducted with an online self-response. Now, we've been at this for a few months, and I'm happy to say I'll be able to share a few results with you all today. Our four primary uses of census data is that of apportionment, redistricting, funding, and planning. So let's first discuss apportionment. Seats for the U.S. House of Representatives, congressional seats are allocated based upon the population count. Every state gets one, so after those 50 are allocated, the remaining seats are allocated based upon population. The greater the population, the greater the representation. If you'll take a look, these are the results from the 2010 census. The state of Ohio lost 2 seats in Congress. We went from 18 to 16 due to our population size. Now, does that mean we were losing population? No. What that means is other states were gaining population size greater than the state of Ohio. Let's discuss the next use, redistricting. So after each census, state officials get together and they use the results of that census to redraw the boundaries of their congressional and state legislative districts to adapt to those population shifts. This affects a lot of things that people don't realize, not just your voting precincts, it also affects school districts and boundaries. Redistricting is critically important to the state. Funding. More than $675 billion in federal funds are allocated based upon census data. And you heard the commissioner mention what Lucas County received. This is annually, okay? More than $675 billion for transportation and roads. It helps to fund schools, fire, emergency. I heard the chaplain speak about police funding, and police size is based upon the population count. So it's critically important, as well as to our young folks and children for pre-K and Head Start, school lunches, and healthcare services. Planning. Now, as Rotarians, I think this one would be especially, you guys would be especially mindful of this. Anytime a business wants to do anything, make any kind of plans, a business plan, they do it based upon sound informed decision, using statistics, using data. We're often contacted at the Census Bureau by companies when they are looking to move into new areas. What do they want to know from us? They want to know what is the educational attainment of their potential applicant pool. What is the school district like? What's the real estate like? Will their executives want to move into the area and, put their children in the school system? What is the prevailing wage? To see if it is a sound decision to move into the area. All of this data is obtained through the census. So let's discuss the 2020 census, which is currently ongoing now. I mentioned that this is the first census where you can go online and respond. Let's talk about some other things and all the modes of response for the 2020 census. You can go online, if you haven't already done so, to my2020census.gov, and you can respond online. You can also respond by mail if you receive the paper questionnaire in the mail, and you can respond by phone by calling 844-330-2020. Responding is easier than ever. We are currently looking at our response rates, and even in the pandemic, our response rates are a little bit above the marker nationally where we projected that we would be at this point. With the 3 modes of response, you can respond anytime, anywhere. You can respond on your smartphone. You can respond on a tablet, over the phone. We want to use the internet to optimize response. And during the pandemic, that has been helpful for us because people are largely at home most of the time. You can respond in 12 non-English languages. We provide language guides online in 59 languages. And also language guides are available in ASL, American Sign Language. Print guides are available for those, and we've provided these to our stakeholders and partners who network and provide services for the blind. So they're available in Braille and in large print for seniors. Now, one of the reasons why we have to encourage people to participate is that we all know some folks have, they are adverse opinions about responding and providing their information. We want everyone to know that Title 13 of the U.S. Code, Section 9, states that the information can only be used in statistical format. So no information about an individual or individuals will be provided. It is only in statistical format. The information collected by the Census Bureau cannot be used for anything else. We're often asked by businesses and governments, if we could provide information that would be helpful to them, and we understand that it would, but we are bound by Title 13 and we do not share that information. Your census responses are confidential, they're safe, and they're secure. Your answers can't be used in any way against you, whether that's in a court of law. And trust me, we have been tried and tested, and we have won in every instance. Your responses are protected by law. Every Census Bureau employee takes a lifetime oath to protect the personal information that they receive. Any violation of that comes with a penalty of up to $250,000 and up to 5 years in prison. We take this very seriously. I know I do, as well as my colleagues. I'm a wife, I'm a mother of 4. I have 2 college graduates and 2 that are working towards that. And in my work, mother cannot do time. She has to pay tuition. We take that extremely seriously, as does my colleagues. There are no exceptions to this law. The law requires us to keep every response, all information gathered confidential. We will not share an individual's responses with ICE or any other law enforcement agency. We will not allow the information to be used or shared to determine eligibility for government benefits. The 2020 census will never ask for your social security number or money or donations or anything on behalf of a political party. We won't ask for bank or credit card account numbers or your mother's maiden name. We say this because there are folks who have done so under the guise of the Census Bureau. If you receive anything like that, please make us aware right away. That is not the Census Bureau. We will never do that. We know that there are scams out there, and we want to make people such as yourself aware because we know that you have a network within the community. Now, initially, we sent out invites and mailings, and we began that in mid-March. We sent a reminder letter, a postcard reminder, and then for anyone who had not responded by April the 8th, we sent a reminder letter that included a paper questionnaire. We sent what was then supposed to be the final reminder postcard on April the 20th, the week of April the 20th. Now, we always experience challenges, and those challenges are folks that are afraid to respond, folks that are historically undercounted. We know that our veterans are historically undercounted, seniors are historically undercounted, children under 5. And we made a really big effort for 2020 to ensure that parents were educated as to the importance of including children under 5. If a child is not counted in 2020 and they are 4 years old, that child will not have the opportunity to be counted again until they're 14 or 15 in 2030, at which time all of the funding for middle school, elementary school, middle school, and high school, a lot of that funding will have been missed for that child. I know that in a lot of our areas in particular are communities that are growing and developers are coming in. In Central Ohio, we had an area where 3 high schools were built over a span of 2 years based upon census data. So we've always had our challenges in getting the messaging out and educating individuals as to why it's important to respond to the census. But then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, that brought on a whole different challenge. Mid-March, we went to the suspension of field operation. And all of our work was being done virtually, as I'm doing today. That really put a big challenge for us. It brought a big challenge because we've been working with the governor, we've been working with the mayors across the state, commissioners, all in an effort to increase the response within communities. And we had several events planned that could not take place due to the governor's stay-at-home order and the pandemic. So we had to extend our field operations at that point. Our group quarters operation is the operation where we count students in dormitories individuals that live in nursing homes, prisons, etc., anywhere where people live and share common space. And that has been extended through September the 20th. Our internet self-response, that has been extended. Right now, we're saying September the 30th of 2020. Our update leave operation, that is where we go to homes that do not receive mail at their home address, but rather at PO boxes, and we hand deliver a form. We wrapped that up in July of this year. And our non-response follow-up, that is where we send individuals out that are hired from within the community to knock on doors and collect the data via a handheld device, a tablet, and that will run through at present, September the 30th of 2020. Now, we have a tool that is an application tool that is available on our website, and it is called the Self-Response Map. And that tool looks something like this. And as it lets you know where your community is, and it provides you information down to the tract level. A tract, for those of you who aren't familiar, is an area of blocks. It is a group of neighborhoods of approximately 4,000 that the census uses. Realtors use our census tracts to identify things for their MLS listing, et cetera. Businesses use our census tracts. So this, you can obtain information down to that level. As of this morning, the national self-response rate across the nation is 62.8%. The response for Ohio is 67.1%. Now, let's look at what the response is for Toledo. Toledo's response rate is 56.4%. It is a little under where we projected it to be at this point, and I would say by 8 percentage points. Now, this is concerning, and so much so that Secretary Ross from the Department of Commerce, who heads our agency, made a call to the city of Toledo in regards to the response rate, and we offered assistance to help in any way that we could during the current climate to help to increase that response rate. The response rate was 10 percentage points higher during the 2010 census. Let's discuss the census impact on businesses. How, oftentimes in the Census Bureau, we use acronyms for everything, and we constantly address the WIFM, the what's in it for me. And I want to discuss what the census, how it matters to businesses. So an accurate count of everyone helps to ensure the quality of the data that we provide and the statistics that are important for economic development. Trade associations, chambers of commerce, businesses all rely on census information, local governments for strategic planning. You want to go and obtain a small business loan, you're going to be asked to include census data for the area, for example, that you're trying to put your business in. And we have all of that, and we assist you with that data. For folks wanting to open a new small business, to expand an existing business, to promote economic development. We work with many of the Department of Development through local government to shape tax policy. Oftentimes, census data is used to when in a proposal in legislation in terms of tax policy. And what's really critical in this time that we're experiencing right now, emergency response, all affected by the census data. We need your help in this effort. We can't do it alone. We can't do it without you. You are the trusted voice from within your community. Many of you are high profile, you're active in the community, and we need your help. How might you go about helping? And why is it important for you to help? I remind you that more than $675 billion The allocation of those funds is based upon the population count. When folks are not counted, that's money left on the table to a community that has to provide the services, whether the money is there or not. So it just makes smart business sense to help. It helps communities to get money for new investments, for services and jobs, brings jobs to communities. It is critically important to the community that you be counted and that you be counted now. We're looking at a 2-month span. There are no do-overs in this. We live with the numbers for 10 years. So while there is an opportunity, it's really important that you help. And during this pandemic, we know that with the way we have established for people to respond, it works well in this. However, for those who don't have access, we need to come up with ways to help those people respond. And that was part of our plan pre-pandemic, was to provide ways for them to respond, to provide access to the technology and to broadband. The governor has 700 companies that have offered broadband access to help in this effort. He has been on the forefront of this with us, ensuring that each and every Ohioan is counted. The governor of Michigan issued him a challenge, and they have gone a little bit back and forth, not so much now since the pandemic, but they are keeping in touch in terms of the response. As of this morning, the state of Ohio is 10th across the nation. Michigan is 4th. So we have some work to do. We have a social media campaign that we are asking individuals such as yourself to assist us with. Why? Because we have made this easy. Online access makes it possible for folks to complete their questionnaire with a smartphone. It's important. We need you to stress the importance of completing the 2020 census and its impact on your community. It's safe. We need you to inform others of our commitment to keeping the information safe and our legal responsibility that we provide the public with a private and secure way of responding. I can't say enough how important it is and how safe it is. By law, a reminder, your answers can only be used to produce statistics. And we have available a social media campaign that is prepared. You don't have to do anything, but just pull the messaging off of our website at 2020census.gov. Here's an example of a message for the parents of young children and stressing the importance that young children are counted. I think sometimes people think that we only want the information on the adults in the household. We need to know how many children, and that's important for planning. Here's a message that can be used and pulled from our website about the impact on infrastructure and how it affects communities. And again, you can just pull this and, post it. You can post it on your personal page, your employer's page, through your network. We ask you to help us by responding to the 2020 census. If you have not already done so, in this time of social distancing, it's going to make a difference for the well-being of your community, and it helps to shape the future of your community. Your response helps to direct billions of dollars in federal funds to local communities, again, for healthcare, emergency response, schools, education programs, roads, and other public services. The results from the 2020 census will determine the number of seats each state has in Congress and your political representation at all levels of government, not just the federal level. We want you to encourage others to complete the 2020 census now so your community will have the resources it needs over the next 10 years. An accurate census count helps communities get the resources that they need for emergency and disaster response, which we know now in the time frame in which we are experiencing and living right now. That's critically important. So I would encourage you all to join us as a census partner. We have partnership specialists in the Toledo area. We have been working with the county commissioners and Mayor Wade in an effort to ensure that everyone within Toledo and Lucas County is counted. There is a complete and accurate count. We have some work to do there. We will be conducting a census caravan parade going through the communities with low self-response in those census tracts, messaging and providing the individuals within those tracts an opportunity to respond by providing the technology and mobile hotspots for them to do so. I want to thank you so much for inviting me today and for your time and attention. And at this point, I will take any questions if you guys have any.
Excellent. Rose, thank you so much for your presentation. We are going to open up to club members to ask questions. We'll ask you to, in the participant tab, click the raise hand button if you've got a question, or you can type it into the chat and we'll come around to you. Rose, I can tell you personally, as I'm pulling up the first person to ask a question, I completed the survey on the Census Online. It was extremely easy. And so I certainly appreciate having that, that online option. Yuval's got a question. Let's go, let me go to Yuval. Yuval, go ahead with your question.
Yes, I question if Social Security is not mentioned on the survey, how can we prevent participation of illegal aliens?
The Constitution mandates that we count all persons residing in the U.S. It does not differentiate. In terms of Social Security, undocumented persons are not eligible for Social Security. But in terms of the Census Bureau, our charge is to count all persons. Those funds are critical to your community. They are often used by undocumented persons in that if an individual is in an accident and they're hurt, when the EMTs respond, they don't ask if they are a U.S. citizen, nor does our police officers who are very helpful to us and reach out to try to provide assistance. The funding for both of those, emergency care and for a police officer, and the number of police officers that a local government is funded for, is provided by census data.
Excellent, thank you. All right, Chuck Stocking has a question. All right, Chuck, you can go ahead. Oh, Chuck, you are still muted. Nope, still. Hey, Chuck, I still can't hear you. Let's try it one more time.
There we go. How's that? Okay, two parts to the question. One is there's roughly a 10-point spread between Toledo's participation in the census and Ohio. Do you have a feel for what that costs in terms of money that would be allocated to our school system, as an example, or to other activities?
Thank you for that. Okay, so we don't at the Census Bureau, but there are scholars that have done studies and come up with figures, and those figures range from $1,800 to $2,500 per year per individual, not counted. So you could be talking about millions, potentially millions of dollars of lost funding.
Okay, my second question, part of the question was, with so many, well, all students in the Toledo Public School System are going to be connected virtually, and that provides an opportunity to reach out to the families and those students to make sure that every member in that family is counted in the census. What are you doing to take advantage of this shift in connectivity with students and their families?
Okay, we have a program, it's called Statistics in Schools. we have been working with the Toledo public school system for over a year now. They are utilizing that curriculum. We also have partnered with Toledo Public Schools and as well as the private school system for our Statistics in Schools program. We offer it. It is a free program. It's online. It provides lessons and it provides information about statistics for various subjects. So math, geography, many of the subjects that are a part of the state testing are available there. And we've been working with the educators. This program was developed by educators for educators. And I will say that the superintendent of schools there in Toledo has done a PSA for us. So they have been involved. We continue to outreach and to work with them, to partner with them in our efforts. Owens Corning in Toledo offered 200 laptops to the Complete Count Committee. It is the Toledo-Lucas County Complete Count Committee, and the commissioner is a part of that as well. And they offered those laptops so individuals would be able to have access and respond. So many of the organizations in the city of Toledo, the nonprofits, were given a laptop that, you know, because they offer services to those students and their families. So we've done a lot to try to outreach to the schools and to get that messaging out to the parents as to the importance of participation. And we continue to do so.
Excellent. All right, Mike McIntyre has a question. Let's see, we can go. Mike, you're up. Make sure you unmute yourself.
Thank you, Ken. And Rose, this is really informative. Thanks for providing all this information. Really, two questions. The first one is, what's the deadline to submit your census?
September the 30th. Now that recently changed. We were hoping to go through October. That has changed as of last Thursday. It is now September the 30th.
Okay. The other question I've got is it the hard numbers submitted that that the government goes by, or are they projected for a community? For example, you know that 56% of Toledo residents have submitted their census, and you could project, okay, well, what's 100% look like? Is that factored at all, or do they just go with whatever has been submitted?
They go with what's been submitted, and that's based upon law. Congress does not allow us to do it any other way, and so it's the actual count. That's why it's so important that, you know, everyone respond, because we can't use projections. You know, and many of our studies that we conduct, and we conduct over 137, we're allowed to provide the data on both. But for the actual decennial census and the federal funding that is allocated, because of the numbers, it is the actual count.
Thank you.
All right, let me see if we can get Bob Savage has a question. Bob, let's unmute you and you can go ahead.
Rose, thanks for coming to speak today. And obviously Toledo is behind, and I don't know how concerning our number is. Obviously, it's not great. But how do we compare to either the city or the county to the other big 6 or 8 more urban districts in Ohio on % complete at this point?
Okay, great question. So with the city of Dayton, they are at 50.3% as of today. They also received a call from the Secretary, from Secretary Ross, in concern of their numbers. The city of Columbus is at 60.3%. the city of Cleveland, they're doing a little better than, if comparatively, I would say the two cities of concern for the state of Ohio were Toledo and Dayton, and let me add one more, 3, Cincinnati. And so we're working, putting a focused effort in those areas, those communities, working with the mayors, with other partners and organizations within those 3 cities to increase the effort. We have 2 months left to get this done.
And how similar, I mean, obviously, always some places are going to be behind and some not, and some ahead. Obviously, we never want to be behind, but do you have any idea how similarly we are compared to 10 years ago or 20?
Oh, great question. Yes, I do. So we're behind where we were 10 years ago. I actually covered Toledo 10 years ago. And at that point, we were 5.1% higher than we are as of today.
Okay, well.
Yes, and so, yes, you're welcome, sure.
Yeah, thanks for your important work, and I hope the community is rallying behind this, because I know this has a huge impact on all kinds of federal and state funds coming for a variety of different programs.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Janina Douglas has a question. Janina, you can go ahead.
Hey, Ms. Simmons, I just wanted to thank you and congratulate you on this presentation. This is absolutely the best and most convincing presentation I've ever heard on the census. So thank you. And I think you should have convinced all of us we should do whatever Rotary can to help get the word out. I'm wondering what kind of information could be added to our newsletter and even shared with other clubs in our district.
Okay, we have information that I can provide to you guys. You can put a banner on your website. You can put a link to my2020census.gov where people can click on and respond immediately. And any type of virtual meetings that you're having, a mention, we have articles prepared that you can drop into your electronic newsletters. We are here to help you help us in any way. So we welcome that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, again, if you've got a question for Rose, you can raise your hand in the participant window, or you can type it into the chat. I'm curious, while we're letting people kind of raise their hand, and we probably have time for a couple more questions. Rose, I'm curious how the security measures that you guys have put in place, how those might potentially be a beta test for future online voting in elections.
Yes. Okay. So we began testing our connectivity plan back in 2013. And we went through a series of measures. We literally hired the best hackers in the country to help us to test it, to see if they could penetrate it. We went through several measures. And when the experience in Iowa was in the news, the vote, it was right before we actually went live online. And there was a lot of questions from the public, like, okay, the census is going to be online. We are pleased to say that our results have shown the effort that was put forth prior to. Our system has not been penetrated, and we actually have folks working with the individuals that developed this for various states and local municipalities in terms of future safety for voting. So thank you for that question. Yes, our team, our IT team did a fantastic job. We have not experienced problems. There was concerns about crashing We have not experienced that, and even on our highest days of response. Kudos to that team of men and women that developed this.
Then my last question is, what activities have you seen that have demonstrated the greatest impact in getting folks to be able to complete the census?
A presence in communities where we have low response, and we can identify that. We know the lowest 10 census tracts in the Toledo area, and we focus on those daily, as well as the lowest 20% in the area. Outreach, so penetrating those census tracts, those the people who network and provide services. And in Toledo, we see that it is people who are non-English speakers. We see that it are people who live in communities that are underserved. So partnering with United Way, with workforce development, in an effort to get that messaging out and providing them with an opportunity, means to respond. That's been effective. Our faith-based community has been extremely effective. So we've seen increases in the Toledo area where the diocese will put something up about the census, or where pastors will have information about the census. We had 2 weekends where we had Census Sunday faith-based weekend, and we saw an increase in response. Those are the trusted voices, and so when they speak and say this is important to their parishioners and that you need to respond, those are the types of things that we've seen, a bump in the numbers behind. I mentioned we're going to do a Caravan Parade, and we hope to have the participation of both the commissioners and the mayor. We will be going through in a parade fashion. We'll have the emergency responders with us. A lot of fanfare to try to stress and break through to those communities that it is critically important. Time is running out. You need to respond.
Excellent. All right, Dr. Durant, Superintendent for Toledo Public Schools, has raised his hand a couple of times. We're going to go to him with a question. Dr. Durant, go ahead.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I would just appreciate the census, and her point is well taken, because at the end of the day, one of our goals is early childhood development as Rotary, as well as in the district. And so dollars had been taken away from the federal level. When we had went after Head Start in 2013, we were notified that based on the census, we had lost $6 million because of the impact. So if we're already below that, we already have a good sense of really what that may mean in regard to Head Start funding, because right now we're taking from other areas of the state just to supplement and provide seats, because some people can't get their enrollment to where they need to be, and we have a waiting list. So we have just been backfilling as we get them. But I think that my main question is that if I could have one of your people contact myself, in essence, it's just as Mr. Stocking has stated, based on our online assessments. And I know there's a fine line, because last time we worked with the Census Bureau, is that we have ability to, now that every home has a hotspot along with a Chrome device, to be able to now send messages or even to send their census survey to the Chromebook and use the email that's going to be provided for their Chromebook. So now we know that every house is being hit based on, what we've seen in March, April, and going into June. Some were struggling just getting acclimated to their hotspots, as well as being able to get connections and respond to emails and getting used to it.
Wonderful. Superintendent, that is news. That's music to my ears. I will contact you myself personally, and we will make that happen. Okay. Thank you for that. And thank you for the PSA. That was great. We appreciate you taking the time and effort to do that.
Yeah, no, if I need to do more, don't hesitate to say. I could speak, just as not only superintendent, but even the mayor. I mean, the mayor's having to go on the ballot and talk about needing things for roads. We may not be needing to go on roads if we had the allocation we should have received and money that we left on the table. And that's the same way with education and all the things. When people had to go to the voters, there are certain responsibilities. We could do what we could do pre-voting and all that other things, and getting people to respond to the survey. We may not need to go to the polls as much as having to do so. So please utilize every platform that we have. So when you get with me, we'll have a conversation. And that's because we have parents coming in, getting them orientated to their Chromebook. That may be another time to have somebody from the Census Bureau as we're orientating them. Hey, you're gonna have access to email and such for us. We need to make sure you're providing a survey, because this Chromebook is being paid out of federal dollars that's being allocated based on the Census Bureau. So to keep these things coming and allocations coming to support not only your generation, but the next generation, we need you to help engage in that. And we could do that as we bring them in. We got about 3 weeks before we start really bringing each one in, reorientate them to the Chromebook, but we'd love to have somebody there along with our people or in our line grooming them through it.
I'll make that happen. Sure.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Excellent. All right, Dr. Durant, thank you very much. Mrs. Simmons, thank you so much. If those connections don't work, the suggestion was thrown out, you can always give out free Browns tickets too. So with that, I will pass it back to President Alex Dew.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that'll definitely have somebody want to go complete the census. Rose, thank you so much for joining us today. Fantastic presentation. To thank you, we'll be mailing you a well-known book about Toledo, Historical Tales of Toledo, authored by past President Clint Mock, as our gift to you. We will also make a donation to the Polio Plus Fund in your name. And again, thanks for joining us today. Just a couple of quick reminders I'd like to mention. First cycle grants closed last Friday, July 31st at midnight. So now the process requires our executive director review each application and assign to the appropriate service committee. Of course, for initial vetting, the process is done by our members. And just a reminder, you can still join any one of our 7 service committees: community service, international, youth, peace, water, disability, and vocational service committee. This is one of the ways that Rotary engages in our community. Please join me next Monday, August 10th, when our speaker will be one of our own, Jamie Farr. And now I'd like to send it over to past President Chuck Mann for Chuck's Chuckles. Chuck, make us laugh.
We're running a little tight on time, so I'm only going to do one. But I think you'll agree this is dynamite. A group of friars, in order to raise funds, decided to open up a small flower shop. Their shop became wildly popular as everyone liked helping the friars out. But a rival florist across town thought the competition was unfair. He asked the good fathers to close down, but they would not. The florist returned a second time to beg the friars to please close, and they ignored him. As a last resort, the rival florist hired Hugh Martin, the roughest and most vicious thug in town, to persuade the friars to close. Hugh paid them a visit and just destroyed most of their store, warning that he would come back if they didn't close up shop. Terrified, the friars closed the store, thereby proving that Hugh and only Hugh can prevent florist friars.
Wow, Chuck.
I'm sorry.
Oh boy. Well, definitely made us laugh.
It's worth every dime you pay for it, damn it.
Again, thanks to all for joining today, and make it a great week. We are adjourned.